Welcome back. And as a reward for getting through all of the previous videos in the mini Python course, what I wanted to do, I thought it'd be neat, is just to give you a little small video on basic machine learning. And we're going to use this really just as an example of doing one machine learning sort of algorithm. Okay. And it's not meant to be all encompassing of machine learning. Machine learning is an entire growing and expanding field of artificial intelligence. And, you know, what I could possibly give here would be maybe a mile wide and a millimeter deep. Okay, so I can't be overly comprehensive in this, but what I'm going to do is take everything we've done with Python so far and just do a little sample video or sample exercise in machine learning. What I've chosen to do is to break up this video into two separate videos. And this one here, this first one, is really going to be just to set up the environment in Jupyter Notebooks. And once you've got that all set up, that's great. Then we're gonna move on to the next video where we actually just work on a problem with a very small data set and go from there and just kind of get a feel for doing a small machine learning exercise. Okay, so the first thing is we have to set up the new environment in Jupyter Notebooks. And to do this, there are a number of steps that we will have to follow throughout this video. And so let's go through those steps because I want to break it down for you, all of the things that are going to be involved in what we're doing here in this video. So first thing we have to do is actually import some data. And to do that, we're actually going to use a CSV video. And I actually talked about that in the last video, okay, where we worked with CSV files. And the next thing after that we have to do is actually clean the data and to make sure that that data is appropriate for how we want to use it. Okay, and then right after that, we got to split our data into two different groups. Okay, and one of is going to be a training set. That's what we're going to use at first. And then we're going to use another as a test set. Okay, and the other thing, you know, next on the list that we have to do is create a model of what we want to do. And after we created that model and we're satisfied with it, then we're going to train it. Okay, we're going to train that model. And here's the most important thing about machine learning. And perhaps, you know, it's been suggested that we stop using the idea of machine learning and we really consider it as a prediction machine. Okay, because machine learning is all about making the best possible educated guess or prediction about the outcome of an event happening and maybe calculating the probability of something happening. So what we're going to do in this is just make a simple prediction. And once we've made that prediction, the final step in all of this is to actually evaluate and then improve. Okay, so these are the steps that we're going to follow in this video about machine learning right now. And before we do that, I just want to tell you that we're going to be using some very popular libraries. Okay, and the first one we're going to use is NumPy. And NumPy is for doing multi-dimensional arrays. And in previous videos, we talked about arrays in our data structures. Okay, and another one we're going to use is pandas. And think of pandas as a library that is kind of like creating a spreadsheet. Okay, and the next one we're going to do is something called matplotlib. And this one is for 2D plotting and graphs. Okay, and finally, in terms of the libraries we're going to use is Scikit-Learn. Okay, and this is where we have very common algorithms like decision trees and things like that. Okay, and we're not going to use Visual Studio Code in this one. We're actually going to switch over to something called Jupyter. Okay, and that's the environment that we're going to actually work in. Okay, and to do this, we're going to need something called Anaconda. And that's the platform that we're actually going to be working in here. So historically or typically we've been in Visual Studio Code, But the most appropriate thing is going to be for us to do this in Jupyter. Okay, so why don't I stop talking and let's go and start getting all of this configured so that we can continue and make our first machine learning algorithm where we can get our first actual prediction. The place that we need to start to go and get Anaconda is at anaconda.com products/individual. And it'll take you up here and you have different things that you can choose from, but it's in Anaconda products. Okay, and you can scroll down to here where it says install Anaconda, which will bring you down to the bottom and you choose which one you want to install. And so I have a 64-bit machine and I'm going to install mine for Python 3.8. And you can see it's a half a gig of memory. And so now that it's done the installation, I'm going to click on this and go through the installation process. You can read through that if you really want to. And I'm just going to follow through and I'm going to go with the recommendation. And I suppose I will install it here. Next. And I'm going to do this one. This is also the recommended. And it says this will allow other programs such as Python tools for Visual Studio, PyCharm, blah, 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 all these things to automatically detect Anaconda as the primary Python 3.8 on the system. So I'm going to do this installation. And what's really good about this is because I'm installing Anaconda, this is actually going to take care of my Jupyter for me. Okay, so in all of those libraries that we talked about in the beginning, that's all going to be taken care of because we're installing Anaconda. Okay, it says that it's complete. Click the next, next, and next. The place to go if you want to learn more about how to get started with this, you click on here. And down at the bottom here, it says get started with Anaconda. And depending on which installation you did, whether it was a Windows or Mac or Linux, you can click on that and it'll take you to the next part in this little tutorial on explaining it. So I'm going to actually type in Anaconda. And you can see that it's going to create my little, it's going to show me my icon or my prompt. So I'm looking for Anaconda Navigator. And you can see this is the window that actually popped up. Okay. And because this window is what popped up, and I'm looking at the different environments here. I've got this button here, but it's not really what I want to go for. So I can go back to home and I'm going to launch this Jupyter Notebook right here. Okay. And what you're seeing is that it's going to this localhost 8888/tree. Okay. So this is my notebook. This is where I want to operate in. So this is now our Jupyter dashboard. Okay. So right here at these tabs at the top, it's files, running, clusters. So files, this actually points to my home directory, okay, or my root directory. So everybody's computer is going to be different. This is going to point to all of your individual home directories. So you may see different files in there. You may not. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a new notebook for ourselves. I'm actually going to do mine in documents. And in my documents, I want to have new notebook for Python 3. And you can see that this is what we have now as our new environment to work in. So we have our new environment and you can see here right at the top, it's not actually titled properly. So I'm going to do first machine learning. Okay, and rename. And you can see at the top, it's renamed our first machine learning. So what I've decided to do is just to turn it off and hit the launch. and it's going now to my local host, and I'm in my documents in here. And I go to documents, and you can see that my notebook is actually there. So if I run that, now I'm back in my machine learning notebook that I wanted to be in. So we've got this first line there, and now we can get back into actually focusing on the Python coding. Okay, so this is just going to be your normal print function. And in here, I can do hello world. Okay. And then from there, I just hit this button right in the middle that says run. And you can see right here, Jupyter prints my output. And look at this box here with the blue and the black line surrounding it. So this is the output of the code that I'm writing on this line 1. Now what I want you to do is go over to this website, kaggle.com, and we're going to get some data sets. So once you go to here, then go to data sets here, and there's a menu on the sidebar, but there's a search here, and we're going to go and get video game sales. Okay, and I'm going to take the one right at the top. It's got a gold star rating. Okay, and if I click on this, you can see in the data right here. Let's have a look at the what's in the columns. Okay, so in the description here, you can see everything that's kind of in the columns. And down below, you can get some more information about this particular file. Okay, and it tells you the #1 ranking game right here. And if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you can slide over and see the additional columns. Okay, so this is the one that we need to get. Now, before you can go ahead and download this, you actually have to sign in or create an account to get it. And it's probably not a bad idea if you're interested in machine learning anyway to go ahead and do it anyway. So I'm going to go register, get my account, and then I'm going to download this CSV file. So I'm back in my file directory for my notebook. And you can see my first machine learning here. And it looks like this zip file went to probably my downloads. And there it is. And I'm going to actually extract it all here. And here's the file right here, okay? And that's the link to the file. And I'm going to go back into here and I'm going to upload. And it's going to ask me where I want to upload from. And I'm going to say from my downloads right in here and here. This is where I'm going to upload that file. Okay, and you can see that it's right here in that same directory. And I just need to go ahead and hit this button that says upload. And you can see right now it's beside my machine learning.ipynb file. Okay, so if you're in this situation, you're doing great. So we're back in our notebook and we're going to replace this and we're going to type in import pandas as PD. So PD is a short form for panda. Okay, so on the next line, and the reason we put the PD in there is so that we don't have to keep retyping pandas. So we can do PD dot read underscore CSV. And in here, we can do quotes and just I think that file was called, if I'm not mistaken, VS. In fact, what I can do is just copy it so that there's no mistaking it whatsoever. I can go in here and paste that right here. So if I want to go ahead now and run this, this is a DataFrame. Okay, and what we're going to do is do df for DataFrame. Okay, and then on the next line, we're just going to type in df. Okay, and save this. And now I'm going to run it. And you can see everything that we're getting here now. Okay, we're getting the entire sheet. So this is taking this CSV file and putting it into this view. Now, don't get too concerned with this idea of DataFrame. Okay, it's really beyond the scope of what we're going to do here, but just know that it's a tool that we can use with pandas. So suppose I just want to know how many records, how many columns. So I can type in this dot and shape. Okay, I don't have to put the function brackets or anything like that, but let's go ahead and run that. And you can see here there is, it looks like 16,598 rows over 11 columns. Okay, and I want you to notice something here in Panda or in Jupyter is that this continues to increase. Okay, and we don't have to write all of our code inside this little block here. I can go now on to the next line and continue on writing some of my code. So I can do df.describe. Okay, and this is a function. So when I run this, a couple of things I want to talk about. Okay, we have the segment here, and we're just going to refer to this as a segment. Okay, so we've got the input and then the output of the last line of this particular segment. So if we go to the next segment here, what we're seeing is that this is the last line inside that segment, and this is the output that we're seeing here. Okay, now I don't know if you noticed or not, but when I just saved the button, this turned from a green color to a blue color. Okay, and let me see if I can do this again. So I've got this segment, and if I go and I hit the save, it changes it to blue. Okay, and this one's blue again also. So let's look in here in this output of what's really being displayed here. And you'll notice that we have this rank here. There's 16,598. This is the count. But notice here in this particular column, there is actually a couple hundred less years that are in there. And what that means is that not all of these records actually have dates associated with them. So there's a bunch of blanks in the columns. And so, you know, we would be looking to deal with that in the future, because, you know, we can't have sort of missing pieces, or we're going to have to write some code to clean all that up as well. But if you look at right across the board consistently, everything else seems to be in order. Okay, there's no missing data in these other columns. Okay, and then when you look here, we've got mean, standard, we've got our minimum and our maximum. And then we're saying, okay, how many of these records is, how many records do we need to achieve 25% of the overall data set? Okay, we need 4,151 records to be 25% of that whole data set. Okay, so if you put 4151.25 over top of 16,598, you'd get 25%. So this is the mean. This is another, you know, perspective on average. Okay, and the rank doesn't seem to matter all that much, but if you look at here, the average year was 2006. Okay, and if you look here, we're getting the standard deviation of the number of video games. Okay, so this is good just to get some basic preliminary information about our data set. Okay, let's go on to the next segment. So I'm going to put in here df.values. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and run that. And now what you're seeing here is a two-dimensional array. I've got this outer array, my outer one, and then these are the inner ones with this square bracket here. Okay, so this is really a two-dimensional array that you're seeing here. What I want to do right now is just go ahead and look at some Jupyter Notebooks shortcuts. Okay, so let's have a look at those to make this environment a little bit more user-friendly for us and quicker. So first and foremost, we talked about blue and green. Okay, but not only does it kind of mean save, but it's got another meaning. When it's in the green mode, it's actually meaning that it's editable. I can go and do some editing inside that one. And so when it goes to blue, it actually goes to the command mode. Okay, which is why when we press the save, it saved it and executed it at the same time because it's running commands at that point. Okay, so if I click on here and then let's say I hit escape, okay, in this mode here, this is how we get to command. And the way you want to do that is actually if you click inside this segment, you can see that it's actually green, so I can edit this. But if I click the escape button while I'm in there, it turns to blue. Okay, and the same thing down here, you can see it's green and it turns to blue. So, you know, hitting the escape back and forth on your Windows machine isn't really like a toggle between one or the other. It just means that if I go into here and you can see that I can do whatever I want. I can edit this as I'm here, but if it goes to blue, I can't actually do that. Okay, so that's one of the sort of shortcuts there. And obviously what we said about saving. Okay, now if you actually hit if you're in here and you hit H, you get this shortcut for your keyboards. And it's going to tell you all the stuff that's in there that you can actually go and do. Okay, all the little shortcuts, really good, handy to learn, but it takes a bit of practice. And on this form here, you see the difference between the two. When you're in the command mode, okay, you've got, you're in blue, and these are all the shortcuts. But when you're in edit mode here, okay, you can use all of these commands here. Okay, so everything on this side and left and right of that is in command mode, and then everything over here. Okay, so for command mode, you can be in escape, okay, and then enter to get out of it. So suppose I want to have another cell or another segment below me. So what I can do is click on this in this mode, and let's say I want one just below. I hit B, and as a result, what you saw was this. But if I want one above it, it is A. Okay, so you're seeing A is above and B is below. And now I can have this in there if I want. And it's not Shift A or Control A or anything like that. You just have to be in the right mode. So you have to be in your command mode. And if you look at this here, you have to be in command and then right here, insert cell above, insert cell below. Or cut selected cells, which is X. Okay, so you're not going to use all of these, but you know, you're going to use some of them if you want to. Okay, so let's keep going and look at a couple more of these. And if I want to go ahead and get rid of this one here, what I need to do is just make sure I'm in the right mode and then X, and it got rid of it. It cut it out of there. So if, for example, you don't want this one up above, you can go escape and then DD, that will delete it. So previously I did cut, but now I'm doing delete. So let's suppose I want to, I do want to have one in here, and I'll go to this and I'm going to say below. That puts this in here, and I'm going to print a message that says hello. Okay, when I go to execute this, it's going to just run just inside that segment there. Okay, and notice nothing here changed, nothing here changed. It just ran this particular segment. So what about if I go into this block here and I do another print? Okay, and in here I just say hi, oops, I say hi again. Okay, and now I want to execute this. Okay, you can see that the previous work did actually clear, and now I'm doing this. Now there's this menu option right up here called cell. And if I do the drop down on here, there's run cells and select below, insert below, run all above, run all below. So you've got different options on what you actually do want to run. So for example, if I'm in here and I say, I want to run all below, okay, I can do that. Not really a big change to what we were just looking at, but I'm just demonstrating that it's still possible. So one thing you may have been wondering about is, what about this IntelliSense? Because Visual Studio Code has it, and it's really nice to work with. But if I want to do df dot, okay, it's like, well, where is it? I want to see what I've got available to me. Okay. And the way I do this is actually pressing df dot and then tab. And then all of these things in my tab actually sooner or later will actually pop up here. So I can scroll down there and I can try to select the ones that I want. Okay, and for this one, again, I want describe. And of course, this is a method or a function. And with my cursor on here, and if I select Shift and Tab, and there it is. I just had to be on here, click the mouse on there, and then Shift and Tab. And it may actually take a little bit of time, so don't worry if it doesn't come up right away. But it's giving you a little bit of a written description of what's going on in there. And if you click that up arrow, you get much more information about what's going on in this particular function here. Okay. And then just click the arrow to turn it off. So if I want to comment something out, you know, typically what we were doing it before, we would do something like this. That's one way, or you can do a control and a /, same sort of thing. Personally, I would rather just hit the my Shift 3 to get that commented out. Okay. Okay, and so the last thing that I want to do here is actually I want to get rid of all these cells because I want to start over from scratch. So I'm in my command mode and I can go DD, that's gone. The next one, I can just keep hitting DD until they disappear. And notice as it goes up, it's just continuing to stay in the command mode. So I'm going to get rid of that and get rid of that. And now I have a completely blank slate. Okay. So I think that's enough for this video in terms of getting Jupyter Notebooks set up and working around in it. So in the next video, we're going to actually start doing an application in machine learning for determining or predicting movie genres based on an age group that people are more likely or not likely to watch. So let's end this video and get started on the next one. Thanks.